Investment.
Investment. The act of investing money in something. For example, foreign/private investment.
Investor. A person or an organization that invests money in something. For example, small investors equals private people. Item. One thing on a list of things to buy, do, talk about, etc. For example, what's the next item on the agenda?
Liable.
Liable. Legally responsible for paying the cost of something. For example, you will be liable for any damage caused.
Living.
Living. Money to buy the things that you need in life. For example, she earns her living as a freelance journalist.
Loan. Money that an organization such as a bank lends and somebody borrows. For example, to take out/repay a loan equals to borrow money/pay it back.
Lottery. A way of raising money for a government, charity, etc. by selling tickets that have different numbers on them that people have chosen. Numbers are then chosen by chance and the people who have those numbers on their tickets win prizes. For example, the National Estate Lottery. Luxury. Expensive and of very high quality. For example, a luxury hotel/car/apartment.
Material.
Material. Connected with money, possessions, etc. rather than with the needs of the mind or spirit. For example, material possessions/wealth.
Merchant. A person who buys and sells goods in large quantities, especially one who imports and exports goods. For example, a coal/wine merchant.
Modest. Not very large, expensive, important, etc. For example, modest improvements reforms. Money. What you earn by working or selling things, and use to buy things. For example, to borrow, save, spend, earn money.
Mortgage.
Mortgage. A legal agreement by which a bank or similar organization lends you money to buy a house, etc., and you pay the money back over a particular number of years, the sum of money that you borrow. For example, to apply for/take out/pay off a mortgage. Net. A net amount of money is the amount that remains when nothing more is to be taken away. For example, a net profit of £500.
Non-profit. Without the aim of making a profit. For example, an independent non-profit organization.
To have to pay somebody for something that you have already received, or return money that you have borrowed. For example, owe somebody something.
Pay. The money that somebody gets for doing regular work. For example, her job is hard work. Pay. The money that somebody gets for doing regular work. For example, her job is hard work.
Penny.
Penny. A small British coin and unit of money. There are 100 pence in £1, 1 pound. For example, he had a few pennies in his pocket.
Poor. Having very little money, not having enough money for basic needs. For example, they were too poor to buy shoes for the kids.
Pound. The unit of money in the UK, worth 100 pence. For example, a £10 note.
Precious. Rare and worth a lot of money. For example, a precious vase.
Premium. An amount of money that you pay once or regularly for an insurance policy. For example, a monthly premium of £6.25. Price. The amount of money that you have to pay for something. For example, boat for sale.
Proceeds.
Proceeds. The money that you receive when you sell something or organize a performance, etc., profits. For example, she sold her car and bought a piano with the proceeds.
Profit.
Profit. The money that you make in business or by selling things, especially after paying the costs involved. For example, annual/pre-tax/corporate profits.
Profitable. That makes or is likely to make money. For example, a highly profitable business.
Project.
Project. To estimate what the size, cost, or amount of something will be in the future based on what is happening now. For example, be projected.
Promote.
Promote. To help sell a product, service, etc., or make it more popular by advertising it or offering it at a special price. For example, promote something.
Prosperity. The state of being successful, especially in making money. For example, our future prosperity depends on economic growth.
Publish.
Publish. To produce a book, magazine, CD-ROM, etc. and sell it to the public. For example, to publish a book/novel/magazine/paper.
Purchase. The act or process of buying something. For example, to make a purchase equals buy something. Purchase. The act or process of buying something. For example, to make a purchase equals buy something.
Regardless. Paying no attention, even if the situation is bad or there are difficulties. For example, the weather was terrible but we carried on regardless.
Rental. The amount of money that you pay to use something for a particular period of time. For example, telephone charges include line rental.
Revenue.
Revenue. The money that a government receives from taxes or that an organization, etc. receives from its business. For example, the government is currently facing a shortfall in tax revenue. Rich. Having a lot of money or property. For example, she's one of the richest women in the world.
Sale. An act or the process of selling something. For example, regulations governing the sale of alcoholic beverages.
Saving.
Saving. An amount of something such as time or money that you do not need to use or spend. For example, saving of something.
Scholarship. An amount of money given to somebody by an organization to help pay for their education. For example, she won a scholarship to study at Stanford.
Sell. To give something to somebody in exchange for money. For example, sell something.
Spend. To give money to pay for goods, services, etc. For example, spend something.
Spending. The amount of money that is spent by a government, an organization, or a person. For example, to increase/cut/reduce spending.
Stake. Money that somebody invests in a company. For example, a 20% stake in the business.
Stamp. a small piece of paper with a design on it that you buy and stick on an envelope or a package before you post it. For example, a 67p stamp.
Subscriber. A person who pays money, usually once a year, to receive regular copies of a magazine or newspaper or have access to it online. For example, subscribers to New Scientist.
Subscription. An amount of money that you pay regularly to receive a service, be a member of a club, support a charity or receive regular copies of a newspaper or magazine, the act of paying this money. For example, an annual subscription.
Subsidy. Money that is paid by a government or an organization to reduce the costs of services or of producing goods so that their prices can be kept low. For example, agricultural subsidies. Sum. An amount of money. For example, you will be fined the sum of £200.
Tax. Money that you have to pay to the government so that it can pay for public services. People pay tax according to their income and businesses pay tax according to their profits. Tax is also often paid on goods and services. For example, to pay your taxes. Tax. Money that you have to pay to the government so that it can pay for public services. People pay tax according to their income and businesses pay tax according to their profits. Tax is also often paid on goods and services. For example, to pay your taxes.
Taxpayer. A person who pays tax to the government, especially on the money that they earn. For example, hundreds of thousands of pounds of taxpayers' money, equals money paid in taxes, have been spent on the project.
Toll. Money that you pay to use a particular road or bridge. For example, motorway tolls.
Trade. The activity of buying and selling or of exchanging goods or services between people or countries. For example, international/foreign/global/world trade. Trade. The activity of buying and selling or of exchanging goods or services between people or countries. For example, international/foreign/global/world trade.
Trading.
Trading. The activity of buying and selling things. For example, new laws on Sunday trading equals shops being open on Sundays. Transaction. A piece of business that is done between people, especially an act of buying or selling. For example, financial transactions between companies.
Valuable. Worth a lot of money. For example, my home is my most valuable asset.
Value.
Value. How much something is worth in money or other goods for which it can be exchanged. For example, to go up/rise/increase in value. Wealth. A large amount of money, property, etc. that a person or country owns. For example, the desire to gain wealth and power.